Hey YouTube, if you've watched the channel before, you know I'm a champion for cheap guitars. I obviously the ones you can see on the wall behind me are all not cheap, but they're good Japanese high quality guitars. But I've got nothing against. I quite like your lower end, Stags and Westfields and all that lot. It's like they do need a bit of work, and Squires and Epiphones. You do need a bit of work to get them working sometimes. It's like maybe a wee bit of fretwork, and maybe the pickups aren't the best, and you're talking about like a sub £150 guitar. I'm quite into them, but there is a limit, and this is beyond that limit. If you noticed the other day I did a video and I was saying that I'd found the cheapest tuners I'd ever seen ever, and it's these ones. Normally tuners like this, the sort of the semi-enclosed ones, it's just got like it's like an open gear, with an extra bit on it. Normally they are generally cheaper than the good type of tuner, like this kind of tuner. But these were especially cheap. It's like I think they'd managed to save a penny by making them out of even thinner metal than they normally are. I've also had guitars that have had this type of Yamaha in particular that's got this type of tuner, and they're totally fine. They're actually good tuners, but they look like that. Normally, and even Squires and Epiphones, I think sometimes have this sort of shape, but don't get it confused. They're not this quality. These are absolutely useless. I mean, they were just so unbelievably horrible. I can't even describe. And they came off this guitar. This is a Westwood, not a Westfield and not an Eastwood, a Westwood. And I bought this thinking, it's got quite a pretty grain on the body. It's made out of several pieces of wood, but it's got this sort of translucent blue thing going on. It's pretty good. And then I thought, wow, I'll paint the scratch plate orange, stick an iron brew label on the headstock. There we go. We've got an iron brew caster. And I cannot sell this. I was toying with the idea of selling it as a guitar-shaped ornament. But it's kind of the same problem, similar thing to when if I had like a Chender or a fake Gibson. I'm selling it really cheap because it's a fake Gibson, so it's a fake Gibson Les Paul, so it's £90 or whatever. But who's to stop in the future an unscrupulous person selling it for as a real Gibson? Kind of the same with this. I would sell this as an ornament, but who's to say in a year's time or 2 years' time somebody's not going to try and sell it as a guitar? Basically, every single component on it is as cheap as it could possibly be. And I'm not saying cheap to buy, like, I don't know how much let's say it was Westwood Strat cost. I'm saying cheap to build. And I know I've been to China, I've not been to a guitar factory, but I've seen I can buy stuff sort of not quite direct from the factory, and I know that you can pick up pretty good guitars pretty cheap, and the cheapest ones to do are still guitars, and you're talking the pennies. So this is even less, and so I kind of wasn't really aware. I was thinking because it's the blue colours, I knew the tuners were bad. I hadn't really gone into for example, here's your pickups, right? So I did manage to get tuned. I had to do had to level the frets, calm them down to make the thing play. Warning signs though, the tuners were so bad that I put this type of tuner on, and you have to cut out expand the holes a little bit to take this type of tuner as opposed to the ones I just showed you. And the drill went through off easily. On a maple neck, if anyone's ever tried to put in string trees, the wee screws snap because maple is hard stuff, tough, and it's like drilling through, even just slightly expanding the holes is a tough thing because maple's a really tough wood. This, if it is maple, is a different type of maple. It looks like maple, but really it's soft. I mean, I don't know, can you actually even just stick your thumbnail in it and make a dent? Not quite, maybe not quite that. Yes, it is. If you go on the edge, you can actually stick your thumbnail in, and actually you could just chip bits off it with your finger. That's how soft the wood this neck's made of. It looks like a rosewood fingerboard. So The wood the neck's made of is absolutely rotten, rank rotten. Does have a Fender style headstock, absolutely rank rotten. I've tuned it up, so I mean, you know, it's not holding tune because everyone's. I mean, I'm saying every single component is substandard. You know, when I was adjusting the saddles on the bridge, it's like the wee grub screws that are holding it up. You know, you think how much can you possibly save by finding a cheaper type of grub screw, and it's like they just the Allen key just chews them up. You know, it's like, so it's like totally unacceptable. This whammy bar sits at a funny angle. The pickups. So as I was trying to do there. There, so you can hear the really loud E string. And this is me having set it up as best as I could before I decided it was going out the window. Obviously, I just took the scratch bit off and painted it orange at the start. And I even put a special switch in it that I'd invented for it, which is basically that switch on its own is worth more, like just not connected up, just the actual on and on switch is worth more than this whole guitar is. The strings are worth more than the whole guitar. So the bridge is absolutely shocking. It's as cheap as I've seen, and we're talking miles cheaper than. I mean, people, you know, you can play it like, you know, I had a Westfield and it was rubbish. Not like this, it wasn't. It was an actual guitar. There was a chance that you could learn to play it. I managed to get the neck, I shimmed the neck like mad to get it high enough up so it would actually, the strings were in the right place. The truss rod is absolutely maxed out and it's still not quite straight. It's still got, you know, it's still got a couple of mil relief in it, and that's it totally. I'm turning that bolt until it's stopped. Yeah, you can tell I'm not enjoying this guitar very much. The body, I suppose, I'm not really one for, you know, the tone wood argument. It's really light, but I've had, you know, light guitars and they've been fine. Plywood guitars sound all right, you know. I don't think it really matters what the body's made of. But just going by the rest, everything else I've seen on this guitar, it's just, I can't sell it. I can't use it. It's like, I think it's going to be made of ridiculously thin wood as well. If there was any wood I could see in it, I bet you could stick your fingernail into it. You know, the routing was awful. Yeah, so hopefully you're watching this video second, because my plan is I'm going to do another video for this later as the new Iron Brewcaster, and then I'm going to try and keep a straight face and, you know, play away, and it's going to sound awful, but I'll just pretend I'm not noticing that it's sounding awful, and then I'm going to start smashing it up, maybe, or just seeing if I can put it out of tune and seeing what breaks and stuff like that. So it might be quite a viral hit. But just if you're looking at getting a cheap guitar, there are ones where you just get beyond the point, and even I know how to fix up. When I say cheap, you know, cheap guitars, like I keep saying Westfield because you see a lot of them kicking about, but you know, any of brands like that are just, it is still a guitar. Even the ones that I consider to be really pretty cheap, is Gear for Music. You know, I don't really like them. They're kind of a little bit low, and Swift aren't really very good either. They're kind of getting toward this, but this is by far the worst. I really pity whoever it is. If somebody I'll buy you know, a guitar for your son or your daughter for learning to play, and they buy them this, because they're not learning to play, because this thing is crap. It's not a guitar. It's a guitar-shaped object. Yeah, so that was a bit of a rant there, but I'm just, as I said, it's like, even if it came down to, you know, selling it for 20 quid to somebody so they can hang it in a pub wall or something like that, you know, which I suppose it looks like a guitar, you know, I can't take the risk that at some point in a couple of years' time or 5 years' time, somebody doesn't try and sell it as a guitar, and somebody's going to end up with something that just doesn't work. Yeah, so basically just don't bother. I do remember that happening before with cheap pickups, where the E string just doesn't, it's just not there. I mean, it's in below the pole pieces, and it does the same thing in all the pickups. It's just when you get to a certain level of cheapness, and it really is really ridiculous how low you must be talking, how little these parts must have cost you. If you're able to produce say you're producing a guitar from the factory for a tenner, they've managed to squeeze this down to, like, how how do you make things cheaper than a tenner for an entire guitar? And it's like, they've done it. You do it by not making it an actual instrument, and it can never work no matter which one of these you have. I mean, okay, I had to set it up, but I mean, I'm kind of expecting that sometimes, you know, you do have to do a wee bit of messing up. But I mean, really, just avoid. I would show you I'll peel off the label in the smash up video. Obviously, I'm doing, or the video where my comedy video, I suppose you would call it. So I got my pal Alex got me this. He picked it up at like a car boot sale or something like that. He paid a tenner for it. And I was like, that'll be handy. You know, it's like Iron Brewcaster. I just didn't really realise you got guitars as crap as this. I never really looked at it first before I painted the scratch plate, and put a switch in it. You know, so it's like I'm hopefully I'll get my tenner's worth by smashing it up. It's like it's just absolute crap, and I can't even. It's like salvageable bits. The knobs, I don't think you can make plastic knobs cheaper than what they are anyway, so they're fine. White knobs, they're fine. The pickup covers, they're just pickup covers. They're just, as you say, just cheap plastic. They'll be fine. The screws that hold on the pick guard, I'll be able to save them. You know, strap buttons, it's got them. I'll be able to use them. But maybe use the neck plate, maybe be able to save something from that. The screws, when I was adjusting the neck, have totally chewed up. So I really probably wouldn't use the bolts again, but I mean, the metal plate, I mean, it looks to be, you know, maybe slightly thinner than normal, but it's only a metal plate, so I could maybe use that for something. But really, that's it. And it's like, I'm not even going to attempt to sell these things, you know, even if I stuck them on, you know, Gumtree or eBay for a $5 for a shite bridge, shite tuners and shite pickups. It's just, that person's getting ripped off. So that I'm making sure that these are going in the bin just to get this guitar out of circulation. Just on a moral thing. Even if I gave it to somebody for free, you know, it's like, oh, you can't just smash your guitar up. Why don't you give it to some kid free? It's like, you're better off not having a guitar, because if you had something like this, even though it's been set up as good as I can get it, you're not going to learn to play the guitar. It's really the only use it would be for smashing up in a video. I suppose wood, you could burn it. But I mean, every single component is just absolutely substandard. I'm going to be keeping, as I said, the pick guard screws, the scratch plate, since I've already painted it orange, you can't make that much cheaper. The knobs, the pickups, covers, possibly the string trees, maybe, don't know. Even when it came down to see those tuners I took off, I was thinking, alright, because the wee screws that hold tuners on, they're often quite handy to have. They chewed up when I was unscrewing them, because they were just, again, 50% cheaper than the normal wee shitty screws, and those wee shitty screws cost like £1 for 100, so they've managed to get them for 50p for 100. Anyway, so watch the other video. This will be like part 2. It'll be in the description down there. Rock on!